education are Negroes who want that extra special ed dollar. Because you know, once we put one of those labels on those kids, the school gets approximately $7,000 extra. That's right. $7,000 on top of the regular money. On top of the regular money, and you get that $7,000 every year that the child stays in special ed. So let me ask you a question. Do we really want anybody to get the hell out?
No.
Let me get this right. Average special ed class, learning support queen. How many students in the average learning support class here in Richmond? Oh, you know, where you at? Oh, you in Durham. All right, tell me about Durham. How many in the class? 12, 14? How many
15.
they got?
10 to 12.
10 to 12?
For a small group support.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm teaching my own resource, yes, you know, but overall my caseload of, I would say in the 6th grade, it's about 20, 25 kids that are labeled as special ed.
But that's your whole caseload. But in the class together, when you act, because the caseload is larger than that actual class that you teach, probably about 10 of them at a time, max. Okay, so let's go with the 10, right? There's 10 kids per special ed class on average. So that means 7,000 times 10 is an extra $70,000 a year. Are y'all with me? An extra $70,000 a year per that 10 to the district. So now Umar Johnson, the school psychologist, comes in, and I'm testing these 10 kids who had already been in special ed for a couple years, right? And I'm finding
No improvement.
ain't nothing. Not only do I find no improvement, I find that ain't nothing wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with him. He might be ADHD, but he's smart. He needs to get out. This one over here, y'all said was retarded, is not. Just a slow learner. He get out. You see what I'm doing? I'm taking kids out of special ed. You know what that affects?
The money.
The budget. And if I take too many kids out of special ed, guess what? Some of the special ed teachers gonna be laid off. Did y'all see that? I'm gonna be laid off too. Only difference is what? I can't be laid off because Umar Johnson works for himself. Wow! I resigned from the school district of Philadelphia. I resigned. Most of my colleagues thought I was crazy. They said, you're the youngest of only 5 black men in the 5th largest school district in America. You made good money. You got excellent benefits. One day you'll probably be in charge of all the psychologists. What's wrong with you to be leaving? I said, because every day I come to work, my whole job is nothing but a fight. Fighting to keep black kids out of special ed who don't need it. Who are only being sent in there because the white teachers don't want to teach them and the Negro principals don't care about it. So I'm leaving. And ain't been back since. That's right. That's right.
So why you say just black boys? Is it black girls too?
Black girls too. But the intent is to destroy the male.
That's right.
You destabilize a community by killing the male. Sisters are under attack by white racism as well. But it's done differently. But the male is the direct frontal assault. The direct frontal assault. So we got to recognize that. You always go for the male. In the 1980s, the United States government put money into a program called FAVI. Federal Anti-Violence Initiative. Federal Anti-Violence Initiative. Do black men have a gene that predisposes us to commit violence? Y'all remember that? Yeah, they said we had a gene. I said, yeah, the Willie Lynch chip. They said we had a gene that made us kill each other. And they put millions of dollars into research to prove that black men had a gene that made us violent. Ain't nobody say nothing about racism. Ain't nobody say nothing about economic castration. Ain't nobody say nothing about slavery. Ain't nobody say nothing about miseducation. They blamed it on the biology. Why? Because whenever you can medicalize a social problem, you can get rich off of it. Whenever you can medicalize a social problem, you can get rich off it. If we said that this whole ADHD thing could be eliminated by giving black men role models, mentors, and their fathers back, then guess what? Wall Street, who makes $45 billion a year off brain drugs for black boys, $45 billion a year off brain drugs for black boys. If we said all they need is a man in their life, guess what? They start losing money. So they got to make sure that they do what? Keep anybody quiet who tries to say that it ain't the brain's fault. ADHD is supposed to be the brain's fault. Conduct disorder is supposed to be the brain's fault. These ain't psychiatric problems. These are sociological, black community, black family, direct racial assault problems. See that? Stop letting people medicalize everything. And we fell all into it. We fell all into it. Well, yeah, well, maybe he is ADHD. I mean, first of all, when somebody tells you a child is ADHD, the first thing you got to ask yourself, is the teacher an effective instructor? Because if you are a boring ass teacher, nobody wants to be in your class. You understand? And we assume that the teacher told us the truth. Oh, she said Raheem is too active. He can't sit still. I got to take him to see a psychiatrist. Time out. Did you hire anybody to go into the classroom to observe Raheem to see whether or not what the teacher said was legitimate, right, and exact? No, I never did that. So you mean to tell me you're going through all this running around about to put your son on dangerous mind-altering drugs because somebody said so? The average black boy on psychotropics is on psychotropics because the teacher said so. And that's what we do as a community. We run because the teacher said so. But guess what? We like labels too. Why do we like labels? Because number one, we can get some SSI money.
Come on now.
Cash for crazies. Cash for crazies. Cash for crazies. That's right. And you can get SSI money for the special ed kids. Dollars for dummies.
That's it.
Dollars for dummies. Dollars for dummies. I had a black girl in Philadelphia a couple years ago. I reevaluated. She was a senior in high school. She went through the whole grade school. They said she was retarded. I tested this girl. Nothing was retarded about her. I called the mother up. Say, Miss So-and-so, I got some really good news. She said, what? I said, guess what? Your daughter is not only not retarded, but she never has been. She said, damn. You know what she said? You must be wrong. You must have gave her the wrong test. My daughter been retarded all her life. She fought me tooth and nail. Do you know why? Because retarded kids get the highest SSI money. She fought me for the label because she would have lost her SSI check, and the retarded label gets you the most money. She's been hustling her daughter for 13 years and don't want to give the check back. That's right, Negroes. Not white people, Negroes. Okay? Special education only was birthed so that white folks could resegregate the black kids from the white kids. Period. So then people say, well, what about an all-black school? It ain't no white kids in there. So what's the whole purpose behind special ed in an all-black school if it ain't no white kids to keep them away from? It's real. Number one, it's the cash. Number two, if the teacher don't want to be bothered, they can throw them in special ed full-time, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, because when the feds come in and look at your records and they see that a kid is in special ed all day, you better be able to justify that, because no child should be in special ed all day unless they have a very serious impairment. For example, if you got children who are severely and profoundly retarded, severely or profoundly emotionally disturbed, severely or profoundly autistic, then you could possibly justify special ed all day. These kids over here, orthopedically impaired, traumatic brain injury, deaf, blind kids, they'll probably be in special ed all day because if you're blind, you're going to need that support all day. You can't see at all. If you're deaf, you're going to need that support all day. You can't hear at all. But if you got a socially constructed label, how the hell you justify them being in special ed all day? See, special ed child has a right to two things. A free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. A free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. These two clauses you must absolutely remember, because 99% of all special ed lawsuits are fought because of one of those two clauses. A free and appropriate public education. Free, you don't pay for it. Appropriate. Who decides what's appropriate? That's the word they fight over. The school district's lawyers say what we're doing for your kid is appropriate. The mother say, hell no, he's been in special ed for 5 years and still can't read. That education can't possibly be appropriate. Appropriate is about what you're willing to fight for. IEP. And guess what? IEP. Well, IEP is the program that every special ed child gets. Everybody got me? For example, if we all in 12th grade, we all are taught on the what? GEC, General Education Curriculum. We get the same math, we get the same science, we get the same history, but the minute they say he got a learning disability, okay, he don't get taught on the GEC no more for that subject. In other words, he still gets everything else like everybody else. If his learning disability is in math, he still get the same science, he still get the same reading. Y'all with me? Yeah. But his math is no longer graded on the general ed standard. It's now on his IEP. Individual education plan. And so the IEP team, and who is members of the IEP team? The teacher, the regular ed teacher, who teaches the kid. special ed teacher, who's going to teach the kid, the LEA, which is the principal or designee, normally the assistant principal or the special ed liaison, and the parent. And the parent. Y'all mess up because y'all keep letting everybody tell y'all what they're going to teach your child. You are a designated member of the team. And you don't let the team meet unless you there. Now guess who's not on the team? Who's not mandated?
The child.
The child ain't mandated till they get to high school. Once they get 14, they can come. Okay? Some states 12, right? But you can bring them anytime if you feel it's appropriate. Okay? Who tested your child? Who put them in special ed to begin with? The school psychologist. But we're not mandated to be there. This is the first mistake we make as black parents. Because what y'all have to say is, I understand the school psychologist ain't mandated, but I want him there. I want the person who told me my child was retarded to explain to me how he came up with that. I want the person who told me that my child was emotionally disturbed to explain to me how he came up with that. I want the one who said my child had a learning disability in reading to explain to me how he came up with that. So when you go to the meeting and the psychologist ain't there, you know what you say? We got to reschedule. I'm not going for it. And I see the queen smiling because you know the school staff ain't feeling that too much. She may not mind. But, right.
I don't know, like you said, it might not be mandated, but it is best practice.
Best practice. There you go. But see, you care about the children, so you're going to say, fine, bring him on in. But the average white folk and some Negroes, they're going to say, well, he's too busy. He's off testing other kids. And then you say, okay. Y'all see that? They see that? Or, let me tell you what they do that's really disrespectful. Really disrespectful when they call you up and say the IEP is already done. Ooh! Are you with me? Are you with me? Are y'all with me? And hold tight. Y'all think they doing y'all a favor because you like, you mean I got to show up? I ain't got to come. I ain't got to take off from work. It's already done. All I got to do is pick it up and sign it? You like, that works for me. That's an insult. Because they wouldn't do that to no white parent. No. The white parent, they're going to invite you in, sit you down, you're going to go through the document. But for black parents, come in and sign and you can go on in your own way. You see that? The connotation is you don't care about your own child's education. And then when your child don't learn nothing, we look at the IEP and we look at the goals and we see why. You say his goal, the progress he's supposed to make from this day to this day next year, 365, he already knows that. So if your son has already mastered the goal, what is he learning for the whole school year? Not a damn thing.
How to be a good nigga.
You see? And that's why so many black children go in special ed, they never get out. And you got to realize when you put your child in special ed, he may never get back up to grade level unless he has an IEP team that cares about him. Okay? Do you know that there's not one long-term outcome study on special education to demonstrate that it actually benefits the kids it serves? Did you hear what I just said? Special ed been around since 1975. That's 37 years. There's not one long-term study. This is a national program. There's not one long-term study to demonstrate that special ed actually benefits the kids that it serves. That's right. There's no outcome studies on special education, not longitudinal to long-term. Now, some states have done their own, but as a federal program, there's no documentation to show beyond a shadow of a doubt that this works. It is a 37-year-old experiment that needs to be thrown in the trash. The reason why they're going to be thrown in the trash is because of this right here. Too much money is being made off special ed. The school psychologist getting paid off special ed. The speech therapist getting paid off special ed. The occupational therapist getting paid off special ed. Okay? See? Everybody's hustling the special ed kids. Black failure is the most profitable business in America. Find a black problem and milk it to death, and you will get rich. The problem is all the people getting paid off black problems are white people. They know more about you than you do. Now, autism. Autism is a communications impairment. It is not intellectual. You can be autistic and retarded, or you can be autistic and not retarded. Don't assume that an autistic kid is retarded. I do a lot of work legally around black kids who are put